I'm Juice Mason. That's Morgan Reagan. We are recording this on a Sunday night after the Kings lose a really ugly offensive game to the Indiana Pacers. The short-handed Pacers, by the way. No Malcolm Brogdon. The Kings fall 94-91. They're now 5-5 on the season. Morgan Reagan, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I was on an emotional roller coaster. I don't know if you saw the text that I had to you. Thanks for ever helping me emotionally when I was really in a rut in those last couple of minutes of that game.
Let me just go through the timeline. There's a reason I didn't text you because I knew you weren't at the game tonight. You're watching on YouTube TV. That's delayed, and I was seeing things before you were.
Oh.
Morgan's text to me. This is going to be a tough loss. My heart has stopped like 7 times. I tried covering my eyes thinking it might be good luck. Next text. What is my problem? My Kings fandom is bleeding out of my body onto this couch. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Jump ball, PMG, which must have been
OMG. Yep.
Next text. Jesus, I can't worry. With this, it's worse than a scary movie right now.
Oh, God.
Last one. Poor Hallie just needed more legs. Aww. By the way, those are all separate texts without one response from me.
Yeah, thanks.
She's going a little crazy on the text thread tonight.
Really appreciate it.
It was a frustrating one. It was a really frustrating one for Sacramento because it just was ugly from the start. And after we saw a crazy offensive performance where the Kings hit a franchise record 22 threes, put up 140 points, having 40-point quarters. Breaking news, they did not have a 30-point quarter in this game. They scored just 19 points in the first quarter, then followed it up with 24 in the second, 24 in the third, and 24 in the fourth. But they had every opportunity to actually win this game. There's so many angles here. I think the stuff that jumps out immediately, the shooting percentages, and then the rebounding, which I think is going to be a theme all year. Last game, the Kings dominated the glass. Tonight, they were absolutely dominated, 54-33.
In the Pacers, they watched their film. They did their homework. They knew what they were going up against. Rick Carlisle obviously knows what the hell he's doing as a coach. And they came in ready for this small ball lineup. And, even a player like Rashawn Holmes understanding what they can get done in the paint with their bigs. They did a great job with that. But at the same time, if you're the Kings and you know that that's going to be your competition, you have to do the same amount of homework and realize, okay, so what do we do when we have these disadvantages? It's not even all the time. It's not going to be like, well, you just need more size. There's just going to be times where you have to make sure you are getting every single board before even trying to go out in transition. And that alone screws with this Kings offensive game.
Well, I think anytime we look at rebounding, we always point to the bigs. And yes, that's one facet of it, one angle from the get-go. I was surprised we didn't see Tristan Thompson tonight just because I knew going into this game, dealing with Miles Turner and Sabonis, who are long, they get after it. They dominated the boards tonight. Sabonis had 10, Turner had 15, but I know those guys may get boards. I'm concerned about the other guys. And this is where the Kings guards, who have done a pretty solid job at times this year rebounding the ball. You have to have the game rebounding when you're playing these 3-guard lineups, when you're playing smaller lineups. Well, TJ McConnell had 7 rebounds himself.
And that's what he does.
LeVert had 6. Chris Duarte, the rookie, really impressive, had 5. Yeah. Torrey Craig had 5.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah. After TJ McConnell, who, that's what he does because it's the truth. But then you're allowing all these guards, all these other smaller players get those boards. And that's because they weren't focused enough on putting their body on a man before heading out and trying to run their lanes and push the pace. That's frustrating.
It was really frustrating, and the Kings got off to a slow start. They shot just 33% in the first quarter. At the half, they got it up to 40. It seemed like they got back into the game, but they end up on the night shooting just under 37%. They were 10 of 34 from 3. God. I felt like in the first quarter they were getting some great looks, and I felt like they got great looks in some of the first half. As the game went on, I feel like those looks, and I don't know if it was out of desperation, they weren't as clean of looks.
Sure.
I thought the offense wasn't as free-flowing as it was in the first half, and I don't know if it was just guys trying to force it. But when things like this happen, you point to your best guys. And De'Aaron Fox, after having a couple of good games against New Orleans and Charlotte, did not play well tonight. And he wasn't efficient. He missed another layup tonight, and I think I've seen him do that a few times this year. Fox on the night, 17 points. He had 2 assists, 3 turnovers. He was just 7 of 19 shooting.
Not good. And you're exactly right on a night like this when you need your star player, leader, the most. And we'll talk about this guy in a little bit, Tyrese Halliburton, where sometimes he has these flashes. Yeah, please fix that. He has these flashes where it's like, oh, he is the future. And he is going to be this future star. And that they're flashes. Which with De'Aaron, it's so strange that what we saw last year, we are not seeing the growth on top of what happened last year. And it's confusing because I know when you're like 3 games into the season, you go, it's early. But now as we continue and there's just so much inconsistency with it, I'm getting concerned, but hey, that's not just because you're concerned doesn't mean you become a De'Aaron Fox hater and start saying trade. No. And I just think that's what a lot of people end up doing. And you have to believe in how to work it out. I'm not sure what he needs to do. And I don't feel like it's pure confidence or anything, but he needs to make some sort of adjustment to his game.
It just hasn't looked the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Even on the last couple of games where I thought he played better, he attacked, he got inside, it still didn't feel like the De'Aaron Fox of last year. I'm not as much concerned about him going and scoring 25 a night. That number that'd be great, but I'm not obsessed with that number. I'm more concerned about the efficiency and being a threat and getting to the free throw line and attacking, like having that attack mindset, because what he did well against, let's not get it twisted, the Hornets are not a good defensive team either, but what I thought Halliburton and Fox did a great job. They pushed the pace against that team. They got inside and they found open shooters. And I also thought tonight, and I noticed this against Utah, the couple of games they played Utah too, I don't understand the mindset of attacking Miles Turner when he's around the basket. Miles Turner,
shot blocker, rim protector.
Yeah, but he's a shot blocker in the interior, in the paint.
Yes.
And so you got to do everything you can to get him out of the paint, or if he's coming over to help, find the open guy, find someone else. And I thought Fox tried to attack him a couple of times tonight. Fox went up for a jam on him, and Turner was like,
that was bad.
I'm blocking that. He got him twice. Holmes, I felt like, struggled with the size. And I thought they were trying to force Holmes the ball too much when it's like those guys, when you got Turner and Sabonis in the game, good luck. Like those guys are long, and Turner, one of the better shot blockers in the game. I just didn't like how they played tonight. And the reality is Fox has to play better if this team has any chance of being good. And so far through 10 games, you could say he has had 2 games. If you want to throw the Portland in there, the first game, he was all right.
Sure.
2.5 games. And the Kings are 5-5, which, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't, in my opinion, you're not going to be 5-5 through 10 game stretches if he keeps playing like this. It's just not going to happen. So I can't really pinpoint what it is. I don't feel like the explosiveness is as there on a consistent basis. I see flashes of it, but not as consistent as I have in past years.
I also think, too, a lot of teams, a lot of players did their homework on him last year. They saw what he was capable of last year, so now they are making those adjustments against him when they're going up against him at least. And then you have the new rule changes and everything. And I'm not saying that's like, oh, that's a big part. There's just like these little tiny things that keep factoring in where it's like, but De'Aaron, you have to adapt. That's part of your job as this star. And I'm not sitting here in this chair acting like that's easy at all. But at the same time, what can you do better? What's one of your best skills? Your speed, your explosiveness. Okay, so that's not always going to be in transition for you. So what else can you do with it? You can get into the paint, stop on a dime, hit a nice little jumper. I'm totally fine with that mid-range game with him and keep practicing that, because that is a better percentage shot than a lot of these far away threes that some of these guys are shooting. So if he can develop that mid-range game more and more, he will save himself.
Obviously, he's not the only player who struggled shooting the ball today, right? But again, he's struggled for a decent chunk of this 10-game season the sample size that we have right now. He was 7 of 19, but even Davion, 1 of 7. He missed some shots, I thought, around the basket that he was knocking down the last few games. He was not making them. Buddy, 6 of 16. Barnes, 6 of 15, including 1 of 6 from 3. So you really didn't shoot the ball well. So I think there's a couple ways to look at it. Yes, there needs to be some concern, like, okay, Funk's struggling again. How do you get him to string together a nice 5 to 10 game stretch of playing really good basketball? That's an area of concern. And I think from an optimistic viewpoint, you go, wow, it was 94-91 and you shot like shit.
Yeah.
And Fox doesn't play well and you were in the game again. I'm not really on that side as much, because I felt like there were so many missed opportunities. Indiana had 21 turnovers tonight, Morgan. 21 turnovers. If you have 21 turnovers on the road, 9 times out of 10, you're losing that game. Sacramento was only able to score 24 points off those 21 turnovers.
The Pacers were before tonight's game 0-5 on the road, so they weren't a good away team either.
A little bit of it's misleading. One, I think obviously with Brogdon's a stud. He didn't play tonight. That's why I go the Kings should have won the game. But if he had played, I would have been like, look, the Pacers are better than you think.
What else is misleading about that?
Well, the 0-5 on the road, 4 of 5 of those losses were by 10 points or less. 2 of them were by 1 point. So, like, they've been in games too.
Sure.
And there's been an adjustment with Carlisle taking over. But, I mean, you look at the roster, there's no denying when Brogdon gets back, TJ Warren should be back in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I think they're going to figure it out. They're off to kind of a slow start now. But your point's valid. Like, I think tonight was a game you got to get this one. Like, Brogdon's not playing. You got to get this game.
Yeah.
And they did not shoot the ball well at all. Go ahead. They didn't rebound.
And why else they didn't shoot the ball well? Something Harrison Barnes said in the postgame. He was just like, offensively, when a team studies you, they know what plays are going to run, all this stuff. You got to just free flow it sometimes, right? And that's allowing the ball move from side to side and not just sticking to the right side and playing a little 2-man game and then, sticking to just one side or down the middle. It's like the ball just needs to continue to move. Why? Well, look at the last 2 games for the Sacramento Kings. You were telling me about the stat for their half-court offensive rating.
The last 2 games, their offensive rating in the half court was great tonight. Not great at all.
The movement, huge difference.
Again, you also have to factor in the 2 teams you're taking on previously. The Hornets, not a good defensive team, and the Pelicans are just not a good team right now. So you took advantage of that too. That could be partly because of the opponent, a little easier to execute your stuff. And I think Carlisle's teams traditionally do a good job at just slowing the pace down. They're just annoyingly just boring a half-court team, and they can execute in the half-court.
Yes,
they just have guys that know how to play. Like, got TJ McConnell. That's the other thing if you want to talk about Fox. On the defensive end, I know it's TJ McConnell. Okay, I know it's TJ, and it's like, and on the surface you go, he's not a great player. TJ McConnell is going to play hard 100% of the time.
Yep.
How many times he just dribbled through the lane and around
his own pace.
Then he looked for a shot. He's like, guess what? You're going to allow me to go all the way around.
Or a cutter. Looked for a cutter, just like,
he killed him.
Just crafty with his game and just patient. Sometimes that can get annoying when some players just dribble all the way through and then run it back out and they waste time on the shot clock. He does it with a purpose, and his teammates know he's doing it. So, okay, what can we do to elevate his game and ours?
And how many people are going to tweet me about, that's weird. How is Deuce playing on the floor tonight and tweeting? We got to stop this. Deuce looks like every white player in the NBA. I don't think I look like TJ McConnell.
I mean, from far away, you guys have the same, like, gangly arms and neck.
He's a little thicker than me.
Really?
TJ's got a little girth.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. It's a far away thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't there tonight, so I wasn't watching up close.
So TJ, by the way, TJ McConnell, 18 points. He also had 7 rebounds, as I mentioned earlier, 4 assists. He did have 4 turnovers, but he was 8 of 13 shooting. I look at that and like that can't happen. So if Fox isn't playing well offensively, and then the guy that he was, primarily guarding, of course, in the NBA nowadays, there's like switches all the time, and you're defending multiple guys. We'll get into some of that. Like TJ McConnell shouldn't be putting up those numbers that efficient. You know what I mean? Like that can't happen. And I've mentioned this on previous podcasts. I know we're a long ways from this. We're 10 games in, but if this team were able to get in the play-in, or if this team was able to make the playoffs, the half-court stuff has to just be better. It has to be more consistent.
It has to, because you're
not going to win games in the playoffs.
Teams are just too smart, and they make these mid-season adjustments. They do their homework and understand their opponent, and they go, what advantages do they have that we can take away or we can stop? And that's exactly what a smart team like the Pacers did to the Kings tonight. And you shove them in these situations where they're not great in those situations. Now, we did see in a last couple of nights in the other 2 games where it was like, oh, they've got something going. But I don't know what it was. That deflated them, that took them away and out of their game. Actually, I do know what it was. It was a matinee start and missing every single one of your shots. Again, I'm not blaming the matinee start. It's just different. Yeah. Harrison Barnes was asked about that too, and he wasn't going to complain about it. He was like, early 7 p.m. And they just let's just be real. It puts sometimes it's we're a little off too when we have an earlier
Speak for
game.
Yourself.
Okay, but you get my point. So there's that, and then there's the not seeing any of your shots fall in. It's just deflating. And then they just weren't capitalizing on big moments like the Pacers turnovers and then putting a body on some of these guards to get some boards.
The other thing that I feel like I wrote down this note as we go to the Deuce's note section. By the way, Deuce's notes have changed up a little bit.
They look great.
I'm just going to, I used to write down my notes tonight. I started something different, decided, you know what? I'm going to start typing my notes. So there are my notes on tonight's game. But Morgan, a couple of things. One, the rebounding that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I put a question down. Have the Kings ever gotten a long rebound on an opponent's missed 3 this year? And I feel like how many times I've seen it, they play good defense.
I thought maybe
they force a tough look. It's missed. And the long rebound comes the other team. And then they hit a second chance 3 or just hit a 3. And those plays are so deflating.
You know what other team that was? It was Dallas. Had a lot of long rebounds. And it was just like, and again, you guys, what that goes to is the guard, instead of trying to run out into their lanes and transition, like they're ready to go, like depending on someone else to get the rebound. Instead, you have to stick with your guy on certain teams. You just have to understand what team you're playing and understand how they go about things.
Man, what's up with Buddha?
What do you say?
So Deuce has a dad shirt on.
I mean,
I dressed up for the game, guys. Like,
actually, you know what? I will be nice. Your whole outfit together looks great.
Thanks.
It's real. I promise you. Well, let's see what brand it is. Oh, nice. Okay.
Designer. It's exclusive.
You're good.
This was
You're
made
good.
for me.
Yeah. You're good.
Shut up. Let's get to more of the Deuce's notes section of the game. Obviously, we went over some of the disappointing things, the rebounding, the missed shots, Fox's struggles. There was some good tonight, believe it or not. I know some fans have trouble seeing that sometimes, but I'll give you some of the good. Davion Mitchell, I know he didn't shoot the ball well. If you looked at the box score, you're like, oh, did he do anything? Davion Mitchell tonight started earlier in the game. Second quarter, there was a turnover, irritating turnover. Brad Wanamaker is pushing the pace. Davion comes down, strips him on a layup. And it was just like, that's what I want to see. You make a mistake, get your ass back.
Yeah.
And get a stop. But another key sequence in this game, and this is one of my another irritating thing for me.
Okay.
I text you because we were almost done with the third quarter, and I had not seen Davion Mitchell.
Oh,
the first sub off the bench, I saw Terrence Davis come in. And I'm looking around as Karis LeVert is dominating the Kings. It didn't matter who was on him. Like, he's a slippery guy. He crafty, got the mid-range. I like Karis LeVert a lot, but they had Heald on him at times. They had Fox. They had Halliburton. And it was like, good luck. and I'm looking around. I was just looking at the Kings bench wondering, is Davion Mitchell hurt? He had not played. He came back in at the 3-minute mark.
3 minutes left
of the third.
Yep.
And I got to be honest, when that to me, I didn't understand because he only played 14 minutes in the first half. And I see LeVert getting it going.
Killing it.
He needs to get in there earlier. That's, again, stuff happens in a game, but I'm just saying, I'm looking at it where you need to stop, get your best defensive player.
And Karis LeVert had, obviously, size over Davion Mitchell, but Davion Mitchell still did a great job disrupting. And he adds so much more of that annoying defensive performance that it still will disrupt a really good player's game. And can I just add, too, there's so many times tonight where he was just sliding with guys, and you just watch the way that he moves laterally. It is a form of art.
Yeah, Morgan, that's where it's going. Like I just felt like
really?
he just stayed. He was on the bench too long to start the second half, and the Kings got off to a slow start in the second half. I believe they got out to 8-0 run. Yeah, to start the third, and then LeVert kept going, kept getting it going. It was either him looking for a shot, and then eventually he's like, all right, they're giving me a little more attention. I'm going to go pick and roll with Sabonis, give him an easy look, and then all of a sudden they're up 60-47. You dug yourself a hole again. Then you had the weird sequence of the game. It's 66-54. Kings, all right, they make a little bit of a run. Heel takes a three that literally went around the cylinder of the rim.
4 to 6 times.
Almost 5 times. I counted.
Oh, literally, you really did count?
No, it was 1, 2.
No,
and it was slow.
It was awful.
And it came out. It was just like, really? But anyway, so Davion comes in at the 3-minute mark. And I thought Davion, who was on LeVert most of the rest of the game, was unbelievable. It's hard for me to understand how a player at 6'1" undersized is taking on a 6'6" scorer, like a scorer. You give him the ball, isolation, he's going to do damage. And Davion played outstanding defense. Now, LeVert got him a couple of times. He had a tough shot. But Davion was great. He forced turnovers. He's making plays. It was outstanding. And he got switched on Sabonis a couple of times. Sabonis making mistakes. Davion Mitchell is a freaking stud. He is. I mean, what he does defensively, he is. More, do you watch basketball all the time? You watch the NBA. He's one of the best defensive players in the game right now.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, I would say this about anybody defending like Davion Mitchell.
Hell, even another rookie, Evan Mobley in Cleveland, looks like a great defensive player. He had another nice game tonight.
For such a tall, long dude, like he can just move laterally. He can block shots, but then he's like explosive and powerful with no muscle on his body. It's incredible for Mobley. But Davion, that's my point though. Like if we were watching any NBA TV game and we saw a guy defending like that, we would be talking just like this, even if their stat line was different.
And in the chat, Ron was saying sometimes watch the opposition's broadcast and they always end up praising Davion Mitchell. And no, he's phenomenal defensively. And so that's a great sign for Sacramento. He's able to step up. And Steven, a Text of the Night nominee.
Oh,
remember that, Morgan?
Okay.
TJ McConnell is a good player, but tonight he looked like Steve Nash. And honestly, he did. He did the classic Steve Nash move. Looked a little bit like Tony Parker at times. I like TJ McConnell. I would love him on my team. Like, he's just a guy that busts his ass. Like, great, really just smart player.
Defensively,
gets in the guys. He just plays hard. I like guys like that. But yeah, he looked outstanding tonight.
Yep.
And that's a problem.
But also, Karis LeVert, like he I know we talked about how on fire he was, but he looked so good, unstoppable at times. And you just think about how he's still young and he's going to just keep growing as well. Coming off
Morgan,
what?
He didn't look unstoppable with Davion Mitchell on him. Like, can we just...
He looked disruptive.
Let me ask you this about Davion, though. What is it? Like, for a guy his size, is it just his strength, his footwork? Like, how is he able to make life hard on a guy who has 5 to 6, 7 inches on him?
Well, there's a couple things. We know he's strong. Like, I think sometimes we don't give him enough credit because he doesn't look just like this powerful, buff, big dude out there. No, not like you. But do you know what I mean by that? Like he looks shorter and, stockier. So they're like, okay, how strong is he?
He looks pretty thick to me.
You know, some people go to the gym and they could be skinnier, but they're lifting just like 400 and something pounds or deadlifting it, whatever.
Like me. Yes. Literally like me.
Just stop.
I disagree though. No. I think Davion looks really strong. Like,
but, okay, so he looks really strong, but I think he's even stronger than he looks. Is my whole point. So there's part of it. So then you have this very strong and strength body.
Strong and strength body.
Thank you. Capable of moving left to right the way that he can, never crossing his feet. His core, the way that it moves back and forth, and he's able to just like be explosive and push himself off a foot. I'm telling you, I hope I'm explaining this correctly. Like, everyone at home right now, get in a defensive position, put your legs apart, and really just try to move 3 slides left, 3 slides right. And he just does it. And then if someone comes into him, he's strong enough to also like slow them down, stop them, change their direction.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I think it's great stuff. And that's a really good positive I saw tonight is the fact that we could start talking about defensive matchups at times where, the Kings from a wing spot, I think Harkless, he has some moments defensively, but there are other times defensively on switches where it looks like his lateral quickness just isn't there and he gets blown by at times.
Yeah.
But, we talk about the wing spot as an area that has to get better, like especially if you had someone a little more versatile, all that stuff. But having like a backup point guard that you could like go, hey, can you come in and be on Ingram for 3 minutes? Can we put you on Paul George? That to me is stunning. And it's not like a weird thing to do. I guess my point, and I might have said this last podcast.
What?
I just feel like with Davion, I have not noticed once that he was 6'1" out there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so I have like maybe 2 different times. One of the main times that stick out to me is when
okay, fine, I was exaggerating.
Luka started backing him down, and I was like, oh wow, you are short.
Morgan. My point is, size doesn't seem like it's that big of a factor. Okay, way to pick my stupid statement apart. I'm sorry, I exaggerated. What do you want me to do? I exaggerated. I'm sorry. Obviously, there's been one time this year. I saw tonight when LeVert backed him down and hit a tough jumper over him. So, and if he was taller, he maybe had. Yes, you're right. But my point is, he's 6'1", and it's hard to get it's amazing. I'm sorry, I haven't seen a good defensive player in Sacramento since 2006, so I get a little excited.
It's so fair to get excited. It's so exciting to have in Sacramento. And just like you said, though, it's not like this, and not to say like Lou Dort hasn't, brought so much more to his game. But you know how before it was like, this Lou Dort guy, what can he really do? Can he be consistent? But he's so good defensively. Where Davion, you really feel like you have the confidence to leave him out there for the offensive end as well, even if he's not contributing as much on nights like tonight.
Other things we should hit on, Morgan Reagan. Tyrese Halliburton was the one player who did shoot well tonight. He had 17 points, 7 of 14 shooting, 3 of 6 from downtown. Did not get to the free throw line, which kind of bugged me. But let's actually move to the end of the game a little bit.
I was going to say that's where
we have not hit on that aspect yet. I don't know why.
Because we're breaking down everything else, and I'm excited to go over this now.
So with all this negative stuff that we've talked about tonight, and then the positives of Davion, somehow the Kings are in the game. Yep. And it started with the fourth quarter. Halliburton's 3 cuts it to 4. Davion plays some amazing defense, and Halliburton forces like a bad behind the back pass by Sabonis. And then Halliburton takes it, has a nice jam. The crowd's going crazy. Okay, It's a 2-point game. Yeah. And you're feeling like, okay. And I'm telling G-Man during the break and Jason and Henry, I'm like, guys, they start hitting some shots now. They win this game.
That was your one text to me like early on, like, just slow down, Morgan.
Well, because, I'll get to what I think about this team. We got night chat and stuff. But going back to what I'm saying, then it kept going. The Kings end up going on a 13-0 run, and they get the lead at 75-74. Then it goes up to 78-75, and this is the play I wrote down that kind of killed me. Fox misses a really easy layup. And I don't know if he was thinking like, hey, I could dunk this. Oh, wait, never mind. I'm going to lay it in. Whatever happened, he missed the layup.
Okay.
Immediately, TJ comes down, awesome execution, finds a cutter, Chris Duarte, the rookie, who dunks it.
So good.
So it could have been a 5-point game. Instead, that play happens. Then the Kings come down, miss it. LeVert hits a tough shot over Mitchell. What could have been a 5-point lead turns into down 3.
Yep.
And that hurts.
No,
that was a swing play.
And not only is that a swing play, when you're this team that is still discovering how to close out games the proper way. Like we've seen it some of these more recent nights. It's like, wow, it's not only competitive all throughout, they're closing out when it matters most. And tonight, it just never felt like they were going to close it out. They never, and whether it was like from a missed layup or a bad turnover or whatever, or a missed, defensive assignment, even on that cut, it was Halliburton that missed the backdoor cut. So like, there's just these things that I was like, it doesn't feel like they're ready to close this one out. And that's what it obviously ended up being, even with some of the last plays of the game.
Right. And we're going to get to those last plays. So all that situation comes down. And I felt like that then it went to hero mode where the Kings were turnovers or missed shots, just not great execution. That turns into a 10. After the Kings got the lead, Pacers go on a 10-0 run. And they lead 85-78.
That was bad.
Yeah. That was definitely one that hurt. But then they get back into it. It's 93-91. Mitchell misses a tough floater that I was like, oh, he had a great look.
You could tell he wasn't, but even when he took it, it wasn't like he followed through all the way. It was like he wasn't for sure he was going to take the floater or something, or was shocked that there was so much openness there.
But the Kings are able to stay alive. The Pacers has a play. It looked like a foul could have been called. It wasn't. But then there's 22.5 left. The Kings are down 93-91. I'm sitting at the game going, I don't know how they have a chance to win this game right now, but they do. So 22.5 left, and this is what I'm curious what you think about this whole sequence. 22.5, Fox takes a mid-range jumper with 16.1 left. After the game, Walton said in the situation, they just want to see if they can score quickly down 2, because then they could get another opportunity at it. And it was the look that they got was a Fox mid-range jumper. I felt like that was not the best shot there.
Okay.
And I understand people say, well, he's open. He took a jumper. I think you could have created something different out there. At least make the defense collapse. Do something out there to get a better look. They did not get that.
Okay. 2 things. So you talk about... Oh, God, these
the dogs
crazy
are running.
Animals. Okay. So you talk about how they wanted that quick shot. Do what you got to do. You just talked about how they wanted to get that quick shot so then they could get that another possession. I was totally cool with that, with the amount of time left. I was like, sure, that's not a terrible concept. Then when De'Aaron hit or missed that jumper, I love that Deuce is behind me. Like, God. About to kill her.
They're trying to wrestle in the studio. You're trying to make a point.
I'm like, I'm trying to make my damn point. Okay, so going back to Fox's jump shot. I loved it because I felt like it was in rhythm. It was quick. It's not only a shot he's hit before. You guys, he's not deep into the paint. If anything, he's around that elbow range. Like, that's a pretty easy shot for the most part when you're in rhythm, going, boom. I liked it. He missed it. It's going to happen. Yeah. What more would you have wanted? Because if he had taken it in, we saw what happens when they have the shot blockers in there. And let's say he even took it in. No one was moving enough and relocating to be that much more open than he was.
Okay, out of timeout. Give me a little more movement instead of an ISO, Fox, getting a good mid-range shot. And look, I'm with you. Just because I've said this 100 times, just because you miss a shot doesn't make it a bad shot.
Yeah.
I just felt like they could have gotten a better shot. And Fox, I had someone hit me up on Twitter saying, Fox just fails in crunch time moments. I had to tell that person, well, I mean, he led the league in fourth quarter scoring last year. But so I understand what you're saying. I just think he's not really getting it going at that point. Like, could you get a better look? Okay.
Yeah.
But then the weird play happens, and give Fox credit on this. He misses a shot, didn't love the shot, but then they force a jump ball.
Dude.
And the good thing, and you see teams around the league fail at this sometimes.
Foul.
And it's so hard because you're in the moment, but guys foul. I was watching the Hornets play the other night before they were in Sacramento. It was a close game. They're down 2 in the same situation with plenty of time left.
Remember this.
And Plumlee fouls them to go to the line to shoot 2. I'm like, why did you do that? Play defense.
That's just IQ.
And they actually had more time than that, right?
Yeah.
In this situation, they don't foul, which is definitely challenging to do. The officials are ready to blow a whistle. Fox forces a jump ball.
That was
then
great.
it's between him and Holiday. The first jump ball is messed up. They have to redo it.
Deuce's least favorite thing.
I hate the jump ball. Understand this. If there's one thing I complain about
more
all
than
the time
anything
during a G League broadcast is
on the broadcast.
Why in 2021 do we go, all right, big possession jump ball. The official is going to toss it up. Like, what? The officials never watch an official toss a jump ball.
They're human. They're going to mess up.
Most of them aren't good. Can we just get the possession arrow? Can we find it? Can we flip a coin? Is there something better than go, I'm going to have official, I throw it right. No one ever throws a good jump ball. Can we bring out a machine put the ball in a machine that shoots it out?
No, a machine's a little weird because if it comes out of the ground, someone's going to land on the circle, break their ankle. No, but can I just remind you, this is literally what he has done instead on the call, on the broadcast.
My whole point. Then they end up having another jump ball. Fox wins the jump ball. So then they're going to get another shot at this. And how much time is left at that jump ball situation? There's 5.8 after winning the jump ball. You get the final play. Halliburton is the inbounder. And I felt like in this situation, I was like, I think he's trying to get it to Barnes, and he's not there. So Walton confirmed that after the game.
Yes.
Harrison Barnes was option number one. They couldn't get into Harrison. I would argue, I don't feel like there was enough to get Harrison free and open. Part of it, too, Carlisle's a great coach. He knows that they've been going to Barnes in late game situations. Yep. They did in Cleveland with that long pass down floor. They did against Phoenix. He's a guy that they feel comfortable with. It wasn't there. Get it to Holmes, who returns it right away to Halliburton, who launches a three, and it was well short. I felt like, and again, this might be minor Deuce criticism, and I will accept pushback. I felt like he rushed it. I don't feel like he was set completely.
Okay.
He probably had more time than he thought to get a better look, or maybe even step into it.
Here's what I feel like happened too, because he did maybe rush it a little bit. And I was thinking because he was like, wow, I'm open. And I think Holmes was kind of screening off Turner. Yeah. I think it was Turner. And so that big body, if he recognizes how open you are, he's going to start getting up. Instead, he's still kind of caught behind Rashawn Holmes on that screen. So maybe Tyrese was thinking, oh shit, I got this. It's open. It's me.
Yeah.
But then it was
still
rushed.
A great look,
it was rushed because you could tell it wasn't all through his body, his base. He was not using fully his legs.
And that's what I felt like. I felt like he rushed it a little bit. And honestly, look, he got it. He had a great look. A great look.
Yes.
A great, So then they, of course, miss it. Pacers get the ball, knock down a couple of free throws. The Kings, actually, did they make both free throws? No. They made one of two. Yeah, yes. That's right, because McConnell missed the first.
Yes.
Carlisle calls a timeout, makes the second. Kings had no timeouts left. Fox, the inbounder. He's doing the quarterback thing to get it to Barnes. But this time it was like
too high.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, no, Jimmy can't.
Ooh.
No.
Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo overthrows and gets guys hurt. Yes.
No, Jimmy can't throw the ball that far. Niner shade in first thoughts. That's versatility.
/
High.
Deserved. That's really mean, but it's the truth.
I want to get, we just got your first thoughts on this. We'll get your final thoughts in just a second. We should mention that First Thoughts is always presented by our friends over at rate.com/Sean Stanfield and over at Guaranteed Rate. Look, if you're trying to refinance your home, if you're trying to look for a new house, you're looking to purchase one, you need to hit up Sean Stanfield and the experts over at Guaranteed Rate. They make it simple, all right? Sean's not trying to push you, no, refinance. We're just going to lie to you and do all the shady stuff. No. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. He will put a video together with all the numbers, very transparent. You'll look at it and go, okay, this makes sense. I should go with this guy.
And save an S-ton of money.
Or you go, you know what, this doesn't make sense. And he'll do, yeah, it probably doesn't make sense for you guys. I ran the numbers. It doesn't make sense. We had someone who listens to our podcast go through him to refinance their house, and they said it was a great experience. So if you have any questions, if you're thinking like, hey, I'm renting right now, can I afford a house? Hit up Sean Stanfield. That's rate.com/Sean Stanfield. Connect with Sean and his team. You can also visit his website at rate.com/Sean Stanfield. Equal housing lender. Subject to credit approval. NMLS ID number 349707. Company NMLS ID number 2611. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Thanks so much to our friends over at
Guaranteed.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Right.
All right, Morgan.
Yeah.
My final thoughts.
Oh.
here on First Thoughts before we get to night chat.
Jesus.
I know there's a lot there.
Yeah. What's up?
My final thoughts on this game. What? Why are you looking at me like that?
Your final thoughts?
I'm disappointed. I think this is probably, when you look at this game, the first game where you felt like, yeah, this was not a good game. And it was close. They were in the game. Even the Dallas game, they got off to a slow start, but they were in the game. This one was like a shorthanded team that hasn't been playing. They haven't totally gotten it together. Coming off a loss of Portland, you're coming off a great win at home where you put up a $140. Like, this to me was the first win of the year where I was like, that's really disappointing to me.
I feel all that, but you know what's great? I still feel like, wow. They stayed competitive. Yeah. And again, when I say stay competitive, I'm not saying so then I feel better. It's more like, how shitty was it last year watching games against the Indiana Pacers on a football Sunday, and they would not be competitive. It was effortless. It was strange. Where at least I can sit after this game and I feel that same way because my expectations of this roster, but I'm just like, I'm so glad I'm watching competitive basketball, even if it was uglier than it has been in the last couple of games.
Believe it or not, Morgan, they actually beat the Pacers last year one time, 104-93 in May. You know who the leading scorer of that game was?
Who?
Marvin Bagley with 31 points, 12 rebounds. DeLon Wright had 23.
Should have put him in.
Wow, they actually had like Sabonis, LeVert in that game, McDermott, Holiday, O'Shea, Brissett. Okay. Anyway.
But Pacers were so screwed up in the head.
Yeah. Their coach. Oh my God, that was a really bad situation last year. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Morgan. It was competitive, and I feel like your expectations are just a little different than I think you are. So your expectations for this season may be lower. So than me. This is where I push back on you just in general. I just think this team is better than you think. And I will be disappointed if they underachieve, and that's not going to be acceptable.
And I hope they are. I just don't. I don't think. Again, I don't think it's them. I think it's their competition that they're going up against. That this year will make them even better, if that makes sense.